Howdy, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Number. I'm Carter Bajwa. This is my co-host, Allie Russell. And today we are sitting down with Quinn Cornog from Texas A&M Soccer to dive through her experience and time at A&M.
Yay. Guys, you know I am biased when it comes to episodes with a former teammate of mine. It makes me so excited. Quinn, just want to give people a little bit of a background on you, where you're from, all the things, and kind of your journey a little bit before A&M. So you're from Dallas, Texas. Texas native. What? English. Dallas, Texas native. Thank you.
Yes.
Kind of right down the street. You're currently a grad student. Super exciting. Really crazy, actually, to think about it.
So it flew by.
And you had a redshirt senior season, which we'll get into a little bit later. So this will be your final season next fall.
One more season, yeah.
And you transferred from Vanderbilt after your freshman year.
I did. Well, actually, my freshman season.
I didn't even spend
a year there.
You came to join us in the spring.
I did.
Heck yeah.
I knew what I wanted, and I went for it.
I love that. And after your freshman season, you were SEC all-freshman team. So obviously, before even coming here, you had experience in the SEC. And then you were our midfield MVP in the 2022 season. What a time. Oh, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah. So before we get into a lot of what your journey has looked like, let's talk about what your decision-making process was when deciding to come here after spending your freshman season at Vanderbilt.
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to stay local and in Texas. Even though technically Vanderbilt's not too far away, I wanted to be a drive away versus a flight. So that helped eliminate a lot of schools. And A&M was always on my radar, even like back when like recruiting was early and I was younger. And I think what really made me pick this school is the community, for sure, and just kind of like the friendly vibe you get all around campus. And along with that, obviously, an incredible soccer program, and you have great academics as well. So
yeah, I feel like that's something that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every single time.
You're like, what made you choose A&M?
The community.
Like,
The people.
It's like you just step here, the people, and it's different.
Yeah.
And you've been here now for a few years. How different was it for you to experience the team here and that community here versus what you had experienced your freshman year?
I think my freshman year, it was a lot, there was a lot of separation between classes. And I think here, Coach G always says, like, there really are no classes. Like, whether you're a freshman or a senior, you have just as much of a voice as anyone else. And, like, I love that. That's, like, one of my favorite things about the team here.
That's interesting. So. Was it really, like, you?
I felt very
Okay.
I felt very much like a freshman.
Roles that you had to do when you were?
You weren't allowed to talk back to another classroom. I did once, and I got nailed for it.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, whether it's like off the field,
so
on the
it was
field,
like what they say goes.
Kind of goes. Yes.
That is crazy. So no freshman leadership, no sophomore leadership.
No.
Wait, that's so
interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff was determined by classes in your age.
Okay, because I feel like what you hear typically is when it comes to what you, like, freshmen sometimes will have to carry certain stuff.
Right.
Or like things like that. That you're so right. That was never, even when it comes to having a voice.
The regular freshman stuff, but then I feel like that could backfire. You have a very, high quality sophomore that could do a lot for the team.
100%.
And you cancel that out automatically. That's
but I feel like that does kind of mess with the culture. So did that played a really large impact on why you wanted to transfer?
Yeah.
Okay, because I kind of vaguely remember that being a part of like your story and transferring was that the happiness, because it had nothing to do with your success.
Yeah, like, and I'm just very big on people and just like when I'm around people are my energy. Right. I just I'm very like social, so that was another huge reason as well.
Yeah. So. And we're gonna talk more later on in the episode about this new team that you guys have. Because obviously we need to dive into that. It's gonna look very different for you guys.
Very different.
But before then, just wanted to talk about your journey here because your journey has looked so different than I'm sure what you anticipated it looking like.
100%.
When you came here. But not only that, it has looked different than what a lot of people's experience looks like. Yeah. So for you, mental health has been a really big passion for you due to your own circumstances and things that you've gone through. So can you like shed some light on that aspect and why it is so important to you?
So for me, my junior season was a very big season for me in the sense of like I realized a lot about who I was like off the field. And one of the main things I realized was I was not okay. Like I needed time away to learn more about who I am. And like I needed to step away from soccer just because soccer for me for the longest time has always been kind of what I based my worth on. And I think a lot of athletes struggle with that. They base their worth on their sport and they deal with perfectionism. And obviously, no one's perfect. I'll preach that until the day I die. And like I through and through believe that. And I believe it the most now, having gone through recovery and having seen like and met all of these incredible people along the way. So yeah, my season kind of, I would say, like deteriorated as it went further and further along, just because I had a terrible eating disorder. I was dealing with a lot, and it began to show a lot on the field and off the field. And I finally came to the decision that I needed to step away from soccer, and I needed to even leave A&M to focus on myself. And it was, I would say, the hardest decision I've had to make so far throughout my life. I'm almost 20 years old, and like that's crazy to say, but it's by far the best decision I've ever made at the same time. So, and I felt so supported the whole way through y'all, like the team, the staff, like my friends, family, like I felt so loved and supported. And I'm so grateful for that, because I know a lot of people like don't speak up and don't reach out because that's a fear that they have, that they will not feel supported and backed up by those around them.
Yeah.
And I thankfully didn't have that issue.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? We talked about it a little bit before. Obviously, before this, I was more aware from having been your teammate, but Carter being enlightened on some of the things, and so having the conversation beforehand. But it really is so special and such a testament to who you are as a human. And we talked about this, like the vulnerability aspect.
Yeah.
That's not easy. Like it really is not easy.
Yeah.
And I'll say this again from what I said beforehand, but it's like you, at any phase of your life in athletics, and especially when you hit like the college level and when you're training to be a D1 athlete at a school, an SEC school like A&M, and even going to Vanderbilt your freshman year, I mean, you are really taught that mentality of like, if you fall, stand back up, like get up.
Yeah.
And so it's
sports.
It's sports, and
it's almost like if you show like vulnerability, it's like a weakness.
Right.
Almost,
yeah,
you know?
and it becomes fully ingrained in you, and it's really difficult to step aside. And praise God that over these last couple of years, mental health there's been so much more awareness brought to it.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. Absolutely a beautiful thing.
It's awesome.
But it's also like due to people like you who have that vulnerability, and shed some light on how special that's been, kind of to see like the aftermath of that vulnerability and what has kind of come from that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like one of the scariest things I've had to do was like admit my story and like talk about it, because it's something I used to be so ashamed of and I wanted to hide forever, because at like some points I thought I could do that, but it eventually gets to the point where you can't keep it bottled up anymore. You have to let it out and share it. And like, even though it was so scary to do, like I have felt so like rewarded from kind of like being vulnerable and like talking about it, because I've helped and like impacted so many other people, and like nothing makes me happier than like to know that I'm helping other people that are struggling with not only the same thing I'm going through, but just anything.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We don't have to be identical with our struggles
Exactly.
at all. So.
Yeah. It's like,
good.
you don't have, you don't, I will say this about anyone. Like, I'll never know what it's like to spend a day in your shoes, but I can at least try to empathize with you and things that you're going through.
Yeah.
A big thing that you talked about, and I feel like each of us here, despite the fact that we played the best sport in the room. No, I'm kidding. But the three of us, I know for a fact, and like you said, along with majority of athletes, you go through that identity crisis.
Yeah,
it's like
you do.
Anyone can say, "Oh no, my identity is not my sport."
Right.
But it is so much harder.
I mean,
so
it's
hard.
the majority of time you spend. You know, it seems to be your whole life most of the time. It's gonna default as your identity unless you stop it or you change it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Which that's like such a hard thing to actually do, because if you think about it, like you're saying, everything that you do, down to like every minute of the day, how much time you're spending sleeping, the time you get to study,
eating, everything.
Everything is determined by the sport that you play. So it's like such an indirect effect on your identity.
Yeah.
I mean, how have you seen that really have such a wonderful change in your life that you were able to recognize it and then I mean, the recognition piece is the biggest aspect, but then be able to make that change where you don't identify yourself as the sport that you play.
Yeah, I think my black and white thinking is definitely lessened. I think that was something I struggled with a lot. Like if I had one bad day at practice, that would kind of taint not only like that full day, but that week. And like it would even go further at like it would taint me as a player, you know? And like now I think I'm at a place where I can separate the two things and I can say to myself, oh, I had a bad day, but that does not mean I'm a bad player.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And correct me if
good.
I'm wrong, but in the fall, you didn't play this past fall, but you were able to
I
practice,
redshirted.
right?
I did practice.
Okay, so how nice was that to kind of have almost like a why am I blanking on the word? Goodness. My brain stopped working for a second. But
okay.
when you're able to just have a very like fluid transition
Like back
For
into
sure.
the sport.
back into
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So how
Like a
nice was that
transition.
part?
It was great, and like I think it was a good like every day I treated it like practice. I mean we were practicing obviously,
Yeah.
but like practice for my like black and white thinking, like adaptations, and like from what I've like learned from recovery and like taking it into soccer and like
Yeah.
like keeping everything soccer related at Ellis, and then
Yeah.
once I leave Ellis, kind of leaving that there
Well,
and like going
yeah.
on with my
That's
day.
good.
And that's so
You know?
nice too, because
Yeah.
all of us can understand this. When you're
Yeah.
practicing, it's almost a determinant for your game, for
For
the
sure.
competition.
For sure.
Like
yeah.
every day at practice,
Yeah.
for us, I mean, we were trying to get the starting spot.
Yeah.
For you,
Yeah.
you're trying to make sure that you PR and are at the best of your ability for the meet. So
Yeah.
it's like every practice, it's almost like this hyper focus
Right.
Yeah.
onto that next competition.
Yeah.
So that's so nice that you were able to have like a freedom.
Yeah, to
Like-
separate it.
Yeah.
A freedom to be like, you know what? I'm not competing to get this starting
That is
spot,
good, actually.
Yeah.
but I'm practicing and finding that like
Yeah.
love again.
I was gonna say,
And
like,
that-
just finding that joy for the game, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, I think taking time away, too, one thing it made me realize is how much I just love soccer.
I was about to say, did
You
it
know,
did it help with how much you love soccer?
so much.
Yeah.
And, like, I will never, ever take a practice or an individual session or a game, like, for granted again. Because I took
Yeah.
so many for granted when I was struggling.
Yeah.
And, like, when you step away and take time away, like, whether it's because of, like, mental health or, like, a real injury or just,
Yeah.
like, time away that you need, like, you do realize your love for the sport and your
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah.
So,
And I have to give you like a lot of credit again because it is not as common to step away because of mental health.
not at all.
No, but,
yeah.
but at the same time, like I think that people do have to recognize that is
Yeah.
just as important,
Right.
if not more important, than a physical injury.
Yeah.
To step
Absolutely.
away,
It's the same level, if
same
not more,
level,
like you said.
exactly. Like
I mean, also think about the challenge it brings too, knowing you're physically able to do everything you're physically demanded to do, right?
Yeah.
But mentally that's a hard
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
very real challenge.
yes, and I think that when it comes to also the aspect that you were talking about of being more appreciative of what I feel like you
Right.
can attest to that because you had injury and you went
Right.
back to
Time
sport.
spent out. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just-
Yeah.
That part's similar. Yeah. So
Yeah. Which
yeah, it's a challenge, but also I think no matter what you do go through that separate or maybe distance you from the sport is sometimes needed to
Yeah.
make things aware that, like you said, that you learn from it, you love the sport, learn different things about yourself, sought out things that you were trying to get your thoughts towards yourself about, and that's sometimes important to come back and then know things you were questioning, and
yeah.
the trial may be really hard, but sometimes the reward is worth it. That
Yeah,
could be-
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times not a lot of times, every time it's God.
Right.
Yeah.
And everything that he does. And I think
Yeah.
on purpose. Yeah.
it's all like timing, and it's interesting when you reflect back, like when
Oh, yeah.
certain things happen in your life.
And you're like, why? Like,
Right.
why is this happening? There were so many times where I
Right.
would just be like by myself. Like, I had left school already. I was like sitting by myself in my room, like, why is this happening to me right now? Like,
Yes.
why did I decide to do this? Like, but I just knew that like I just had to like trust God, trust His plan
Right.
for me, and like I ended up here, and like I haven't been happier since. So
Yeah.
it's like everything happens for a reason.
100%.
You just have to like
Equipping
hold
you
on to
for
that.
something that
100%.
you need to be
Yeah.
equipped for.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
even like, you can share. People know by now that we were hurt. They hear it every episode.
Yeah, we relate.
They know by
For those
now.
of you that didn't know.
But I'm a
Eighth
has-been,
time.
okay? I'm a has-been athlete. So, but it was interesting because different scenario. But when I got hurt senior year,
yeah.
for me, I was like, why now? Like,
Yeah, for
The
sure.
timing
Why
of that
it's-
is hard.
my senior season,
Mhm.
I don't know if I have fifth year, but I mean, at that point, I wasn't planning on coming back even
Yeah.
for it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, now of all
Yeah.
times, like this is when,
Yeah.
And hindsight 2020, the blessing of it was that identity piece. Because despite the fact that after my freshman year, I was like, oh, soccer's not my identity. Soccer's not my identity. Then when I got hurt,
You lose it.
holy cow.
Yeah.
But when I got hurt, I was like, oh, wow, no, I tied way more
Yeah.
of it to myself than I thought that I did.
Yeah.
And I think looking back, the biggest blessing for me was having that time to process the identity piece long before I graduated.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had to. And it's like in the moment, you don't think about it, right? You're like, why is this happening? Like, how could this be the time for
Yeah.
it? But then time passes and you heal. And it's such a beautiful thing to look and realize, okay, that's why it happened.
Right.
Like so much of it stems back to,
Something you have now
identity
wouldn't have
part.
been given, or you wouldn't be equipped with it if you didn't. Yeah.
it's really cool.
Yeah.
But for you now, I mean, talking about that, you already hit on like how much happier you feel. How has that also blessed your life outside of soccer?
Yeah, I think I have more time on my hands because I'm less fixated on myself. I mean, that's kind of like long story short. I think when you're in your head all the time, like so worried about what other people think, like
Right.
it takes up more time in your day than you realize.
No doubt.
And
energy.
then, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
A lot of, big,
a lot of energy. It's exhausting to be like worrying all the time about what all these other people think when in the reality, like everyone else is thinking about themselves.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
you're worrying about things that aren't even happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the biggest thing I'd say, like more time on my hands, if I'm being honest.
That's an underrated thing. though.
Yeah, like-
That's pretty great.
And if you could like give advice to people who more likely than not, an athlete and an individual, not just athletes,
Yeah.
struggle from mental health in
Yeah.
some capacity.
Mhm.
What is like advice that you feel like you would give from your own experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is it's okay to not be okay. I think so many people are so ashamed and embarrassed from struggling, and they don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to like be vulnerable because of that embarrassment. But in the end, like I said, like it can be so hard to share it, but once you do share it and it's out there, you can just get so much reward from it, because
Yeah.
it can impact others and it can make others more comfortable
Yeah.
to share what they're going through.
I love
So,
that, funny.
That's probably what I'd say. It's okay
Yeah.
not to be okay.
Yeah, no, yeah,
my
that,
mantra.
that we're like jumping. That's your tagline.
That is.
That's your
Right.
tagline
That's a good one.
of your
Yeah.
career here, which it is. I mean, it's a really good one. It's
Right. No,
so
that's
important.
a very,
thanks.
very
Yeah.
important
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, most of them are funny and like, but that's a very
Yeah,
that's
they're,
a-
yeah. One person was like, "Reach for the moon, and if you don't land there, you'll land on the stars." Like,
I think that was Hayden's, and he kept.
no, that
That's
wasn't.
so
That was.
funny.
I could actually tell you exactly who it was, but I remember when that was said, and I was like, "Okay, never heard that before." That seemed like it was like right off the dome, just random.
That's so funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of
That's
different
a-
ones.
that's
Mine
a
was
good one.
Do you remember yours?
Every time I forget it.
Yeah, you do. Mine was that song.
Geez, we should probably know.
One step at a time. One step at a time.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's a good one.
Yeah. Carter,
Okay.
yeah, come on.
time.
It's okay. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
you
okay.
will we'll give you more time.
So in the time that you stepped away for
Mhm.
yourself, was there anything that you started doing that helped you, or something you weren't expecting that like you kind of maybe just added to your routine that you'd credit a lot of your success to?
I would say
Like,
there's
even
like
small or big, whatever.
Yeah, I would say like one of the, I mean, so on the smaller side, journaling,
I was- yeah.
reading,
Oh.
just kind of using those things to take up my
Yeah.
time. On the bigger side, I would say this is gonna sound like so basic, but just asking other people about them and like investing yourself in others.
That's extremely
That's
important.
something that I've gotten a lot better at,
Nice.
I love
and it's made me
that.
so
Yeah.
much happier.
That's
I
pretty good.
love
Yeah, you
that.
can
So-
learn from anybody really. You never know what they can help you out with.
Yeah.
That's,
for sure.
that's pretty good.
Do you guys have something in your life, and maybe it is journaling, and maybe that's something that you've really grown to love, but like something in your life that's like a stress reliever?
Walking.
I was gonna say being outside.
Yeah.
Okay,
If I'm outside
nature?
walking with some music, I'm
Yeah.
probably good.
Okay, that's so fair.
Give me
Yeah.
30 minutes, I'm good.
I like painting.
Oh, okay.
I know, right? It's
I would
very-
not strike you as a painter.
Okay, see, it's
Creative.
yeah, but not even just paint, just like doing
Yeah,
like
just
artsy things.
art. That's
That's
awesome.
pretty good, yeah.
yeah,
really cool.
that's like a really weird stress reliever.
No,
for
that's
me.
good. I
No,
used to
that's
draw a lot.
awesome.
I think that's similar. Just time to yourself. I feel
Yeah.
like it's a
Yeah,
time.
time to
You
yourself.
know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It can be inserted with
And
whatever.
almost
you know?
like time
Yeah.
to just like free your mind,
Right.
like something
Well,
that
that's
you're doing.
Yeah.
probably painting, you know what I'm saying? Writing down,
Yeah.
journaling. It's
Yeah.
all, you're putting something
Journaling is so good.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Journaling's so good.
Yeah.
And
I
have
was-
you, in the time, like since then, even since being back, do you utilize like the resource of a therapist? Is that something that
100%. I
Okay.
think everyone should see a
I
therapist.
say the same thing?
I am like I have healed and grown so much through my therapist, and like obviously I have to put in the work as well.
Yeah.
But just having someone to talk to for an hour weekly about anything you want, it is the best resource.
That is pretty nice.
And
Like,
that they're so
It's incredible.
unbiased.
So unbiased.
Because it's different. Obviously, it can be a form of therapy
Yeah.
to like talk to your friends and your
Right.
family.
Yeah.
But it's an unbiased source.
Because
of
their
therapy.
perspective is in front of them to your friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I feel like a therapist is a different
It is.
perspective.
It's so
viewpoint.
much
She-
more
Yeah.
of a like professional,
Right.
like knowledge base.
Which could be
For sure.
challenging too. I feel like to
Yeah.
hear is like maybe not always on your side, thinking you're 100% right, like your friend may say. It's
Yeah.
nice to hear somebody say like, maybe not the
Yeah.
best idea,"
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's so impactful, and I agree. It's like one of those things you don't have to be going through something to
Yeah. No.
go
For sure.
to a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna change the pace a little bit
Okay.
to a new topic
Okay.
because this realm of soccer that you're in right now is very different. For
Mm-hmm.
anyone who doesn't know, the soccer team is like majority new people.
Oh, yeah.
It's like at least half the team
Yeah.
is transfers.
Really?
I
and
think we
freshmen.
have
This year?
17 new players.
Yeah.
Wow.
from
Yeah.
this past season to
Wow.
now.
Whether it's like freshmen, early enrollees like
You
coming
said
in.
17.
I think around there, 15, 17.
Out,
Because
out
like,
of how many?
I think we have 20, 28,
Oh my goodness. So
28, 29-ish.
That's a
And there
whole
was
lot of new
32
people.
girls on the roster this past season, and how many of you guys remained?
12 or 11.
12 or 11,
around there.
because
Yeah.
graduates or transfers.
Mhm.
So now you have 15 to 17
New players.
new
That's pretty
players.
crazy.
Yeah.
And
It's insane.
I'm sure it's different right now, though, because it's not like you're about to enter spring training
season.
and spring season. Yeah.
Mhm.
But have you gotten to get to know some of the girls yet?
I have. We've had a lot of just whether it's like pickup or like going out as a team. Like we've had a lot of like I would say like we have scheduled a lot of like team bonding. Like
Right.
the coaches haven't done like we've done it. You know,
Okay, that's really cool.
which is really cool, and like it's allowed us to get to not only get to know like the new players, but for me like get to know some of the players that were here last season that I didn't know very well.
Yeah. yeah.
So yeah, I would say like we're already a pretty close knit group, which is
That's nice.
exciting because
Yeah.
it's so early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's important.
And I
So-
don't know, I'm not going to like bring up details of this weekend, but you guys do have a very
We do
long and strenuous
very lengthy team bonding.
team bonding this
Yes.
Saturday, which would be very fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, how nice is it for you to have those experiences though with people? Like, how does it impact a team and performance of a team to have experience of actual team bonding and like time spent together? Like, what do
Yeah.
you think the difference is on the field?
Yeah, no, I think there's knowing someone on the field with the ball and then knowing someone off the
Yeah.
field without the ball.
Yeah.
And like knowing who they truly are as a person without the sport. And if you can know
That's
both
good.
sides, then I think that's what's going to really help us click as a
Right,
team.
I feel like you
Yeah.
can't lose at that point.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's something
Yeah.
we prioritize. I mean, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
That's something we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you. I mean, your possibilities of success are endless if you
Mhm.
know the person maybe even better outside of the sport.
Yeah.
And then now they're not just a teammate to you; they're a friend who you compete with. I mean, you go to battle a little bit differently. With
Yeah,
that, you know, I
for
think that's
sure.
important.
I
Yeah.
think that you 100% experienced that, and we
Mhm.
talked about that yesterday. Like, track is really good at that. Having
Yeah,
a,
it's
That's
been
awesome.
it's been nice. I mean, you could credit whoever you want, but the willingness from each person to
Yeah.
go to the event, go to
Yeah.
the team, that's who the credit
yeah,
belongs to.
you buy,
know.
you get out what
Yeah.
you put
Right.
in.
So like,
Yeah.
it's whoever organizes it is whatever, but it's the people that are willing to go do the things. They're the difference makers
Yeah.
because then
Yeah.
you need them to be successful. So
Yeah.
when they feel like they have a friend watching them compete or competing with a friend or for a friend, it's much different.
Yeah.
Or
Mhm.
brother, sister, whatever
Yeah.
it may be.
Mhm.
you
And
know.
here's something that you may not fully understand being a male is having an all-female locker room.
Mhm.
There can be some drama sometimes.
For
I
sure.
could,
Yeah.
I could imagine.
And that's one of those things too, where when you have an environment that doesn't hold that kind of
Right.
drama and toxicity, it also has a big impact.
I think like a big difference. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
you're
but
fine.
That made me think of like this thing that my dad actually talked to me about one time. The difference he said between like males and females. I'm just gonna be like general. Males, if you play good, you feel good. Females, you feel good, you play good. And I think that's like a big one of the
Wait,
major
say that again?
differences. Like if you're a male athlete, for example, if you perform really well, you're going to feel good,
Okay,
right?
I see.
But if you're a female athlete and you already feel good about yourself, you're going to play that much better.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I
agree.
think that's like one of the big differences in the locker room.
Yeah.
That's probably-
yeah.
And
that's
like
a
you
good
can
way to
also
put it.
tell if someone on
Yeah.
the team isn't having a great day.
Yes.
You can tell.
Yes.
And if you know that person well through team bonding and
Right.
like getting to know them like outside of soccer,
Right.
like you can be that much more of a help to them.
That's where
Yeah,
the difference
for
comes in.
sure.
Yeah, the little
Yeah.
gaps that need to be filled that you can't fill without knowing
For
somebody.
sure.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where it
Yeah.
comes in. Yeah.
And
So-
you know what's interesting too, actually, you bringing that up, is being the person who's asked the question and being able to be honest.
Yeah.
Because that was a struggle for me, and we knew each other. Like I like to present myself as a happy person, so it can be really difficult when someone
I'm the
asks me how
exact
I'm
same way.
doing to be honest and
Right.
be like,
For sure.
you know, today's actually I'm not doing too good. More
Yeah.
often than not, I'd be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, thanks. How are you? So I think that it also takes both sides of vulnerability. It takes the person posing the question and then
Right.
the one being asked.
And the fact of knowing somebody, like if I feel like we know each other well enough, if you're not having a good day, like I could probably tell.
pick up on it.
And it's the
Yeah.
things like with my jumps group, at least, those are people I'm closest with.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna lie, yesterday at practice, I could tell one of my friends was having a bad day. I'm like, yo, what's going on? It's like, nothing,
Yeah.
nothing. I'm like, all right, come here.
Yeah, I know. It's like
Come
something's
here.
going
Come
on.
sit down.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I could tell because you invest the time with somebody.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just guess those impressions they make, those feelings, all that stuff, like or knowing somebody. You can't just do that from spending time with them at practice. So I feel like that happens all the time. Like we can start to pick up like you're not really okay. We're not going to continue practice until we,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
yeah,
feel like
you're
that-
not okay, and that's okay. But I like hear
Right.
you and see you.
Yeah.
And that's
now come tell me what's really
Yeah.
really bothering you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is so great. But I'm sure that it's going to be very interesting for you guys in this time period because
Yeah.
it is completely building a new foundation.
For sure.
And not only that, but you have a new addition to the staff. So have you been
yeah.
able to like meet with the new coach?
Tim? Yeah,
Tim, okay.
I've only had a couple interactions with him,
Okay.
and I can tell that he's going to be awesome for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
He actually started scheduling weekly Bible studies
Wow.
for our team. Which I know. It's
That's a good-
amazing.
that's
so
a great start.
great start. Great
I
start.
love that.
Great start. And he said he's going to help us a lot on the defensive end. So I
Okay.
already know I'm going to be with him a lot, like
Okay.
during training.
Okay.
So I'm super excited.
Yeah. So do you know how like that's gonna now operate with trainings? Like how G's gonna be involved, he's gonna be involved. Do you know how that's gonna operate?
Yeah, so I know G's kind of going to be overlooking kind of the whole thing.
Okay.
And then you have Seth and Alyssa. They're going to be more with the attacking, offensive
Got
side of the
it.
game. And then you
Okay.
have Tim with the defensive side.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's going to be a little bit more split up. But I think
Yeah.
that's good, like having
Yeah.
like coaches that specialize in like certain
for sure.
areas.
Yeah.
You know, versus like one coach doing the whole thing.
Yes, and especially
Yeah.
if you do like it's almost like position group work. Like you go and do your own
For sure.
things, and then
Yeah.
literally how you guys y'all go and
Yeah.
work in your own
Yeah.
craft,
Yeah.
but you're competing
And
for a team. The
meet
only
up.
difference is like you guys have such a unique sport. It's like swimming.
Yeah. It's so
You compete
it's so
individually
unique.
before a team.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't even get it yet, but
Yeah.
it's yeah,
I'm
it's-
sure it's something trying to like
Yeah.
differentiate the both of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's working individually on your own craft. That's going to collect as a team. I feel like
Yeah.
it's similar. Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
I
So you
guess,
play
yeah,
defense?
I do midfield defense.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'm more of a defensive midfielder. So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to come check you out this season.
Yes,
first
yes.
season
And we have
back.
some games
course.
this spring too.
This is
So
exciting.
Yeah, there are spring games, Carter.
Yeah.
We
Okay,
can go.
sweet. So what are some feelings you have moving into this year? What are some things you're looking forward to?
I mean, a lot of optimism,
Good.
excitement, and just kind of like just trusting the process.
Nice.
Like, day by day.
I
Yeah.
love it. You're gonna.
So
You are an incredible human.
thank you.
Nice.
And
Thank you.
I really am so proud of you for being able to put your identity in something that's not your sport because you are an incredible athlete, but you're an even better person. And that's
And
the
they can
important
be
part.
separate, and that's perfect.
Completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, truly so thankful for your vulnerability
For real,
today
Yeah, of
and
course.
coming to talk to us. It's always great to see your face. I mean, you are such a light of a human. What? Yeah, you got it. Light of a human. Sometimes the words just don't come out.
Yeah.
Anyways, Quinn, thank you for
Thank you
joining
for
us
your
Of course,
today.
time.
yeah.
Thanks for the
Really
story.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And have fun this Saturday.
Thank you.
And your team bonding.
I'm so
yeah.
excited.
And good luck this spring
This
season.
season, yeah,
We'll be
this
out
will
to
be great.
support.
Awesome.
And thank you guys for tuning into this episode of Behind the Number. We will see you guys on the next one.